Throw Out the Anchor is a 1974 family comedy written and directed by Hugh. Filmed in the Orlando area, this movie stars Richard Egan, Dina Merrill, and Alison Arngrim. Jonathan is a widower who has brought his two kids out to Florida, hoping for a family vacation on the water. They end up with the worst boat in the worst harbor in the state, surrounded by stereotypical Florida residents. But when a corporate conspiracy threatens their patch of paradise, these misfits come together to stick it to the man by enacting some wacky hijinks. This movie tries to be funny, keep it light and simple, like the live-action Buena Vista comedies of the 60s and 70s. Basically, the theatrical version of TV sitcoms. Throw Out the Anchor has some moments that are cheekier or more for the grown-ups than the Disney standard, but this film is essentially just as safe to babysit the kids and grandparents with. These situation comedy movies give room for a certain type of comic actor to do their thing. Not somebody stopping the plot cold to do a stand-up comedy routine. More like the story slows down enough to allow funny reactions to odd and uncomfortable situations. Actors like Dean Jones and Don Knotts, they shined in movies like these. And for this movie, Richard Egan has to bring the funny. Richard Egan had a breakthrough year in 1953. The Glory Brigade and The Kid from Left Field won him a Golden Globe as Most Promising Newcomer. But he tended to be movie star adjacent to teen sensations. He got top billing in Love Me Tender, Elvis Presley's acting debut. He was the nostalgic dad in A Summer Place, which made stars out of Sandra Dee and Troy Donahue. And he was one of the leads in Pollyanna, a film that started the box office streak of Hayley Mills. Egan had a casually manly persona and distinctively surly voice that worked best in adventure epics and soap operas. And surly can work in comedy, like it did for Jack Klugman and Brian Keith, but it doesn't work so well for Egan here. We don't get to see what makes him so lovable. We mostly hear about it from his daughter and the film-appointed love interest.
Shame. You're quite virile looking when you're asleep.
Dina Merrill was usually cast to play posh socialites, which came naturally to her. Her mom's family started the post-serials empire, and her dad was E.F. Hutton. But Dina loved acting and brought a refinement and intelligence that served her well on Broadway and on the big screen. Whether she was charming Cary Grant or confounding the Cape Crusaders, she earned her decades of success, even if her family fortune assured that she was the richest woman in Hollywood for decades. She even bought and managed RKO Pictures in the 90s, the same decade that she was on screen for films like The Player and Mighty Joe Young. In this film, Dina Merrill plays Lindy, and she plays her as the smartest person in the room. Honestly, she's great. We get to see her charm, but the movie's coy about why she's hanging out with the hoi polloi of Cupper's Corners. Once the hints of Lindy's interior life are all laid out, it's kind of depressing. Much heavier than the rest of the movie. Everyone else in this film is pretty basic, even cartoonish. The crusty sea captain and his Appalachian wife, the Jewish lawyer, the haughty rich folks, the folksy deputy, the goofball of vague ethnic origin. If you've watched old sitcoms, you've seen these types of characters before, and you might recognize a couple of faces for another reason. Alison Arngrim plays Stevie, Jonathan's daughter and the precocious peacemaker of the film. The same year that Throw Out the Anchor hit theaters, Arngrim would play a very different kind of little girl on the first season of Little House on the Prairie. She auditioned to play one of the Ingalls girls, but was offered the role of Nellie Olson instead, which she would play for 8 years as the little girl that America loved to hate. Very different from her role in this movie. She doesn't get to do much as Stevie besides ask adorable questions and pluck other characters' heartstrings. Incidentally, this movie was also one of the first film credits for Philip Hall. He plays a family lawyer and he's really just there for exposition. He would eventually go by the name Philip Baker Hall, go silver, and become a regular in Paul Thomas Anderson films. Throw Out the Anchor is an afternoon movie. A slow, lazy ride with a chuckle or two on the way. It's not intended for high drama or hilarity. It's for the warm and fuzzies. Strangers become friends. Family grows closer. and the little guy stands up against incredible odds. If you want more from your movies, enjoy Dina Merrill's moments on screen and let that inspire you to find more of her graceful style of comedic performances. Otherwise, just let this movie roll on by.